What's up? Welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of Anatomy of a Fall, the courtroom drama thriller film from French director Justine Triet. Anatomy of a Fall won the Palme d'Or at Cannes earlier this year and is now slowly expanding in release in the US after being a very big hit in France, where it sold over 1 million tickets and had the biggest opening for a Palme d'Or winner in France since 2008. Currently at a $10.2 million gross on only a €6.2 million budget. So, becoming a bit of a hit for an adult film, which we'd love to see. But yeah, I'll be curious to see how this movie performs in the United States as a French film, of course, although there is plenty of English dialogue in this movie. And yeah, I think Anatomy of a Fall is tremendous. This is a fantastic film. Honestly, love the movie. And I'd be very curious how this does in the Oscar race, because this is, a French film that won the Palme d'Or, but yet was not selected for the French submission for Best International Feature at the Oscars. They picked a different movie. They've done this in the past. They did this recently with Titan. Of course, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, famously, this happened too. We'll see what happens there. But Neon, expanding the film right now, definitely check it out. And yeah, I think what's so cool about this movie is that it's a courtroom drama, but it's not concerned with the whodunit of the mystery. And it's really, I think, more about the emotions and dynamics of the relationship that's being put on trial in this. So I'm going to spoil the movie to come, but I gotta say, Anatomy of a Fall, check it out. It's great. So yeah, I think what's so cool about Anatomy of a Fall, which again starts off quite briskly getting you into the death in question, where Sandra, this German writer, her husband falls from the balcony of their French mountain chalet, and of course dies, and Sandra, unsurprisingly, becomes the prime suspect and has to defend her innocence. And Sandra Hüller, who plays Sandra, she does a great job of portraying an enigmatic character who's both kind of inviting the audience sympathy, but still presenting plenty of doubt as a character in terms of what is the truth. And to have like the courtroom drama, which in and of itself is always fun, even if it's more conventional, have the courtroom drama stuff be where we experience most of I think the key character work is really impressive to me. I think the script is really special, and probably like the one like big standout scene, it's a long scene, is when we're in the courtroom and a recording that Sandra's husband Sam had saved of a fight they had a day before he died. He fell and died. That recording is played for the court, and we see via flashback that recording, like, in picture, in scene. And it is I think, a really impressive scene from both performers. You have Sam Tice playing Samuel, and with Sandra Hüller and Sam Tice, I think they place such a rich and fully realized portrayal of a relationship breaking down, and thoughts of blame and culpability and responsibility, infidelity. Like, they cover, I think, so much ground, but nothing ever gets hokey or preachy at all. Like, and this movie, Anatomy of a Fall, does such a good job of maintaining tension to the viewer, and you're just incredibly invested in what's going on. I think, again, it speaks to the strength of that script, and watching the specter of doubt and how we explain things that we can't explain with objective facts with emotion and suspicion, having that kind of be what we're thinking about throughout the mechanics of the courtroom stuff, again, I think it's really impressive. Key aspect, of course, to the story is that Samuel and Sandra have a son, Daniel, played by Milo Machado Graner, and Daniel went blind at age 4 in an accident, and that's a key aspect of this relationship and how both characters handled that incident, that accident, is different. And Daniel, that's pretty good child performance, even though it's a bit understated of understanding given that he's a blind character. But Daniel, I think, plays a really key role in the story. His relationship with his mother, Sandra, after the trial's beginning, and you think about the kid and having the kid be present in the court the whole time as revelations about his parents are revealed to him. He's only 11 years old. He's learning a lot of things that are not fun to learn about. His mom cheating on his dad attempting suicide by popping a bunch of aspirin one night, learning all these really difficult to learn things, having already gone through so much adversity at a young age and following his incident. You feel for the kid, and unexpectedly, in the third act, it's a long movie, 2.5 hours, but I think it really maintains the tension, maintains the audience interest. And I was not expecting Daniel to pull up from deep like Steph Curry and do the test on his seeing eye dog to prove that he knew about his dad's suicide and learned some, mechanics to corroborate some things in his own hazy memory. That was I think a really impressive scene. I wasn't quite sure exactly what Daniel was up to, because it's plausible that he could have done it on accident as well, and the ending where Sandra and Daniel reunite once the trial is concluded, ton of tension in that ending scene, even though literally nothing actually takes place, nothing actually happens plot wise. Speaks to, again, I think, the investment you have as a viewer. And also, I think it's really fun to watch this if you're not a French person, is the courtroom dynamics. How the courtroom works in France is a lot different than how we know of it here in the United States. And watching the prosecutor, the defendant, the defense, the judge, all kind of in rolling conversation, cross back and forth with each other. It's very interesting. I gotta say, the prosecutor actor, played by Antoine Renarts, he was really great. Plays I think a really committed prosecutor, but not villainous. He's really, I think, going through and presenting lots of doubts, and the way what the script gives him, I think, so many interesting angles to play at in terms of this very complex relationship that puts you in the center of, I think, as a viewer, it's even if someone seems to have plenty of reason to kill someone, if we can't prove it, then doesn't mean that they killed the person, right? And the messiness of it all, I think it's all done in such tactful way. Of course, on the other side of that, you have Sandra's defense lawyer, Vincent, played by Swan Arlaud, who's an old friend of hers, who happens to be a lawyer. He does a really good job of countering the prosecutor. It's just fun. You love, I think, courtroom scenes when they're done great are so compelling, right? There's just so much, I think, material to latch onto and drama, right? And he, as a natural counter to the prosecutor per his, role in the court, does a great job. And, then at the end, you can tell there's a bit of sexual tension between the lawyer and the defendant, these two friends, which is established kind of early on a little bit. And then there's a brief moment at the end where you're wondering what's going to happen. Going throughout the whole movie, I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting for, is Daniel going to turn his back on his mom? And you think that's going to happen when he sends her away before he experiments on the dog. I think there's just a lot to think about as a viewer with Anatomy of Fall, but it's just so compulsively watchable. And even though it's a lot of heavy material, you're talking about a murder and the discussion about that murder, watching the fight between Sandra and Sam, very hard to watch because it's a kind of debilitating verbal argument. Of course, Daniel, who seems to have a lot of agency, but is still a obviously blind person, and Sandra makes a big point in the movie that she never wanted to label him as handicapped, and he lives a good life and all those things. There's a lot of chances where this movie could have gone wrong, but I think by subverting so much of the tropes of this kind of story, avoiding the obvious stuff of just getting into the whodunit and mechanics of how this person died, focusing on something greater. Really interesting movie, and I was quite pleased with it. So I'm hoping this finds some success in the US with this Neon release. The fact that it has some English dialogue might help that a little bit, but it is pulpy. It's really watchable. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not going to hold out too much hope for it, but it's also a cheap movie, so it doesn't take much money for this to become a nice hit. But yes, shout out Justine Triet, who I was not familiar with. She's made a few movies thus far. But yeah, this is a banger for sure. Anatomy of a Fall. And make sure you check it out. Let me know what you thought of it. And for more movie reviews, subscribe. And I'll see you next time.